Yeah, so Neil, what does John see in vision in Revelation chapter 8? Because we're exploring chapter 8 today.
Well, we're starting right there, and what he sees is, in this incredible vision, is the 7 churches again throughout history, and only this time he's now seeing trumpets. And being a trumpet player myself, love this thought of, there being trumpets and so on. And the trumpets are sounding. As the trumpets sound, we get a panorama of Earth's history. And so we go right down through that. And it takes us through Revelation 8, 9, 10 and 11.
Okay, so it's a big vision.
It's a huge vision, and we're just going to hone in on the first part of that today, the first 4 trumpets.
Okay, so if you want to read for yourself the vision of St. John about the 7 trumpets, it's chapters 8, 9, 10 and 11 in Revelation. It sounds like an interesting vision.
It is a very interesting one. In the midst of this, the purpose of this is to show that God is still listening to his people.
Okay.
So the purpose of a trumpet, which Heather will talk about in a minute, is really just is used in the pronouncements of God.
Okay, okay. So the vision is there to show us that God listens to his people, he hears
answers
his people.
Prayers.
He answers prayers.
And that God is still the creator of the universe, and that the Holy Bible is still God's word for his people today, and it can still be trusted, and it's still coming true.
Now, you had prepared a magnificent defence of Christianity, Neil. When Neil heard me say, hey, look, Catholics, Protestants, we're all in the same boat, Neil said, hey, we're not all there.
Yeah, well, that's right, because, I mean, think about it. There's a part of the prophecy that we read about in Revelation chapter 6 speaks about these saints under the altar crying out, well, how long, O Lord, before you avenge the blood of all of these saints who are being persecuted and right the wrongs? And so on the one hand, yes, we have Christians doing some dastardly deeds, but on the other hand...
in name only.
In name only.
New South Wales soldiers killing Maori.
That's right. It's tragic, that anyone should lay claim to that, or an American soldier wearing "Kill your communists for Jesus," which we saw through the Vietnam era. But in the midst of all of that, we also have Christians doing incredibly beautiful things. Leading out in helping people in all sorts of places. Yeah, absolutely. And some really saintly people, and people who, in our own society in New Zealand, do incredible work.
So if you take Jesus seriously,
that's where you'll end up.
He really does change lives. Well, Heather, tell us a little bit about these trumpets, because you're excited about trumpets, and I made absolutely certain
I've heard Neil play
on the picture for you.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. Well, the thing that excited me, because sometimes when you read Revelation, it's quite scary, but it's not actually meant to be scary. It's actually a book of hope and promise and explanation of what's happening. And if you look back into the Old Testament of what the trumpets meant in Numbers chapter 8, Numbers chapter 10, verses 8 to 10, it describes 3 reasons trumpets were blown in Israel. And one was to call people to worship, and that was a thing that Aaron and the sons of priests did. The second one, and if you particularly look at verse 9, is when they go into battle to defend their land against oppressors, God would remember them. Tells them that. He says God will remember you. You're remembered by God and rescued from your enemies. I love that. And then the third reason in verse 10, again, is thanks over the sacrifices. Thanks for forgiveness, things like that. And so these are the reasons for trumpet blowing.
I love the rescue bit.
So do I. That's amazing.
Sound the trumpet and we get rescued.
Yeah, God will hear you and remember you and rescue you from your enemies.
So it's a way of remembering God hears.
Yes, he does.
And they sounded it pretty loud, I think.
I think they did.
So if you're feeling like sometimes life's a bit dark and hard and you've got to yell at God, well, join the trumpet blast.
Yes. And yell and scream and cry. I've done that. I have yelled at God and he answered me.
So 7 trumpets, really, it's all about hope.
Yes.
That God listens no matter the darkest of times.
That when true Christians call on God, or true people,
of faith.
when true believers, people who understand God's there, call on him, he will answer and rescue from enemies.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
So, Neil, just very briefly, but what's happening in this vision as it begins?
Well, at the start of the vision, as it unfolds, the judgments are taking place on the earth, and the judgments always are working towards God helping his people. And so, the first one, as you went through in our little episode, it's just looking at the grass being burned up, so God's people being persecuted and God coming in and rescuing.
To rescue them. He rescued those first Christians like he rescues people.
And then the second one is, the blood and the sea turning into blood and a third of the creatures.
Well, that's all very good, but we're going to run out of time for Sarah to share.
All of them,
Right. Okay, we'll cross it over to Sarah. Sarah, Welcome to today again. It's
Thanks.
good to see you. Yeah. So it talks about this altar of incense, doesn't it?
Yep, it does.
And the smoke floating up.
Yep, back in the old school times, it talks about how the priests used to go to the altar of incense and light it, and the smoke from the incense used to fill the room. And it actually talks about that in Revelation chapter 5, verse 8, when it says, "When the Lamb had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 leaders bowed in front of him. Each of them held a harp and a gold bowl full of incense, the prayers of God's holy people." So this incense filling the room, just representing our prayers that go up to God.
Oh, okay. Now, of course, this happened every day, didn't it?
It happened every day. So just like that, God hears our prayers every day. Prayers continuously go up to God, and He's always there listening.
And all through history?
All through history. Good days, bad days, whenever.
Dark days.
Yep, definitely.
Maybe Sarah's just given us the essential cue, because some have said, what are the 7 trumpets all about? Are they all about the future, or is it all about the past? No, it's all about prayers, the incense. And so, Sarah, I guess it means if prayers go up every day, then the 7 trumpets have to be about stuff that's happened every day.
Every day.
Yeah, through history.
Yep.
Okay,
every
and
day.
God hears today.
Yep, the sweet and the sour.
Now, Neil's a church pastor, of course. Do you light incense in your church?
No, we
Why
actually
not?
we don't.
Some churches do.
Yes, some do. I see this more as a symbolic sort of representation, referring to the prayers of God's people ascending to God, the cry of one heart reaching out to God.
Okay, so it's a symbol, it's a picture.
It's a picture.
Yeah.
And if incense helps, well, then use it. But if it doesn't, then just cry it with your heart to God anyway.
Oh, man. So when you think of that beautiful, sweet-smelling incense just filling and flooding the holy temple room, really it's a picture of our prayers. When we gather together through the trumpet call, or whether we're worshipping God, we're saying, God, we're sorry. God really does hear our prayers.